Trevor Philips. We all know this dude as a human catastrophe, but have you ever stopped to wonder what would actually happen if the law caught up with him? Well, today we're going to go through Trevor's entire blood-soaked life story and tally up every single year, every single dollar, and every single life sentence he would rack up. Our journey begins where all good psychopaths start. Childhood. Long before he was a meth kingpin, little Trevor was apparently running around committing acts of animal cruelty. This can be anywhere from 3 months to a full year. And given Trevor's, let's call it enthusiasm for everything he does, we're going to assume the worst. Let's say he did some truly twisted things, so that's 1 year sentence right off the bat. But he didn't stop there. He also started murdering drifters. Now, the law doesn't really care if your victim has a fixed address or not. Murder is murder. And the penalty for that little transgression is a life sentence. We don't know how many drifters he took out, but let's just say it was 2. That's 2 life sentences before he's even old enough to legally buy a beer. Then we get to the hockey coach incident. In a fit of rage, he sodomized his coach with a hockey stick. This is beyond aggravated assault. This is a heinous crime. Let's be realistic. A crime this vile would land him at least a 25-year sentence. Not content with that, he later strangled a clarinet player with his own instrument. Again, that's murder, plain and simple. Add another life sentence to the pile. So, as a minor, he's already collected 3 life sentences. A 25-year sentence for assault and a year for animal cruelty. And we're just getting warmed up. His dad abandons him in a mall, and his rational, well-adjusted response is to burn the entire mall down. That is arson. The penalty for that is a clean 10 years in prison and a $25,000 fine. So his juvenile record alone is 3 life sentences plus 36 years. Moving into his slightly less formative but equally psychotic adult years. He dropped out of school and got into theft and robbery before a brief, and I'm sure absolutely terrifying for the military, stint in the Air Force. After getting discharged for, shocker, being mentally unstable, he starts drifting. His real graduation into the big leagues of violence comes when he meets Michael Townley. During their first ever hangout, he murders an older man by shooting a flare gun into his eye. You know, as you do. That's another count of murder, which means another life sentence. Then he and Michael dispose of the body in a lake. That's unlawful disposal of a corpse. A crime like that, desecrating a body and hiding evidence of a murder, would easily fetch a 5-year sentence. So we're tacking on another life sentence and 5 years. Their first official job together was robbing a check-cashing business. The clerk recognized him, which is a rookie mistake, and he got caught and served 4 months. So we can add a charge of armed robbery to his official record. Since armed robbery involves both theft and the threat of violence with a weapon, a realistic sentence for that would be around 15 years. He only served 4 months, which means he got off incredibly light. But the charge stands. Upon his release, he and Michael, with Lester Crest whispering in their ears, go on a full-blown robbery spree across the Midwest. He frequently murdered people in broad daylight. Let's be extremely generous and say during this entire spree he only murdered 10 people. That's 10 more life sentences. Each robbery itself is an armed robbery. So let's say they hit 5 major scores. That's 5 counts of armed robbery, each carrying a 15-year sentence, for a total of 75 years right there. This was all done as a crew, so we can slap on a charge of conspiracy to commit robbery for each heist, which is 14 years a pop. 5 heists, that's another 70 years. And because this is a sustained, organized criminal enterprise, it would add another 20 years to the sentence. This all leads to the infamous 2004 Ludenorf Crash Depot heist, the job that blew everything apart. During this robbery, Trevor personally shoots and kills a security guard who had Michael at gunpoint. Some might try to argue this was defense of another, but that defense goes out the window when you're in the middle of committing a violent felony. You don't get to claim self-defense when you created the dangerous situation. So that's murder of a law enforcement or security officer. It's still a life sentence. The heist itself involved armed robbery, another 15 years. Resisting arrest is a big one, as the entire escape was a massive firefight with the cops. That's a 2-year sentence. Destruction of property was rampant. They shot up the whole town. Let's tag on 5 years for felony destruction of property. And when it all went sideways, Trevor managed to escape, making him a fugitive from justice. That adds fleeing police a 1-year sentence and escaping lawful custody a 2-year sentence. He reestablishes himself in Sandy Shores and founds the illustrious Trevor Philips Enterprises, which is less of a business and more of a one-man crime wave. His new portfolio includes drug trafficking, meth production, and arms smuggling. Drug trafficking for cooking up that sweet, sweet crystal meth is a hefty 15 years plus a $100,000 fine. Arms smuggling is a specific form of smuggling, which carries a 4-year sentence. He also engages in personal violence, like sexual exploitation, forcing people into sexual acts for drugs. Let's call it a 25-year sentence per count. He also murdered an entire group of fooligans at a quarry. How many is in a group? Let's say 5. That's 5 more life sentences. And just to show he hasn't lost his touch, he sexually assaults Wade with a hockey stick. Again, this is an incredibly violent sexual crime. That's another 25-year sentence. Then the GTA Online protagonist shows up and Trevor sees a new employee. He immediately involves the player in drug trafficking, ordering them to steal narcotics from rival groups like the Lost MC. This is conspiracy to commit theft, but it also is conspiracy to commit drug trafficking. The trafficking itself would probably carry a 15-year sentence. He also directs the player to kill rival dealers. This makes him directly responsible for those deaths. It's conspiracy to commit murder. For every dealer the player kills on his orders, Trevor gets a life sentence. Let's say over the course of these missions, at least 5 dealers are taken out. That's 5 more life sentences for Trevor. He expands his operations to aerial smuggling and destruction of property, tasking the player with taking down rival planes. That's unlawful use of weapons, probably a form of illegal weapon possession at 1 year. But more importantly, it's endangering airspace. That's a federal crime that would carry at least a 10-year sentence, and destroying the planes is destruction of property. And since a plane is worth a lot, that's felony destruction, tacking on another 5 years. He then plans a big heist, recruiting the online protagonist to steal a massive quantity of drugs from the Vagos, the Lost, and the Ballas. He's now in possession of a massive quantity of stolen drugs with clear intent to distribute. That's a possession with intent charge, which is another 15 years. When the rival gangs show up to get their stuff back, a massive shootout ensues. Trevor and his crew commit armed assault and murder. Let's say 10 gang members die in this firefight. That's 10 counts of murder. So 10 more life sentences for Trevor. After the battle, he organizes the transportation of the drugs, which is another count of drug trafficking, adding another 15 years. During the transport, they get into more shootouts, adding more counts of aggravated assault and homicide. Let's say another 5 rival gang members are killed on the road. That's 5 more life sentences. Finally, he arrives at the lighthouse to sell the coke, but whoops, it's a sting operation run by the DOA. When the trap is sprung, he resists arrest and drives off a cliff to escape. That's another count of resisting arrest for 2 years and fleeing police for 1 year. And because he actively sabotaged a federal investigation, that's a charge of obstruction of justice, which would easily add 5 years to his sentence. Now we arrive at the start of GTA 5's timeline for Trevor. The first thing we see him do is commit adultery with Ashley, Johnny Klebitz's girlfriend. Morally bankrupt? Yes. A crime? Not really. So he gets a pass on that one, surprisingly. But then Johnny confronts him, and this is where it all goes wrong. Trevor is provoked, sure, but the legal concept of self-defense has limits. Trevor mocks him, belittles him, and then grabs him and throws him to the ground. That's assault, probably for 6 months. He then smashes a beer bottle in Johnny's face. Now we've escalated to aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, which is a 10-year sentence. But he isn't finished. He then stomps repeatedly on Johnny's head until he's dead. This is murder. There is no self-defense claim here. The threat was over, and his response was grotesquely disproportionate. This is a clear-cut life sentence. Knowing the Lost MC will come for revenge, he decides to launch a preemptive strike. He goes to their hangout, provokes them, and then follows them to their trailer park and launches a full-scale massacre. He kills numerous members, including Terry Thorpe and Clay Simmons. This is mass murder. Let's estimate he killed at least 15 bikers in this attack. That's 15 more life sentences plus charges of gang-related homicide, which would have sentence enhancers. He also causes massive destruction of property to consolidate his power. He confronts Ortega, the leader of the Aztecas. He pushes Ortega's trailer into a river. That's destruction of property, another 5 years. And also arson if it was ignited, which is 10 years and a $25,000 fine. He then has the option to kill Ortega. If he does, that's another murder charge and another life sentence. Even if he spares him, he's still committed intimidation with threats of violence, a 3-year sentence. He then threatens Wade to keep looking for Michael, which is criminal intimidation, another 3 years. He goes to Ammunition and threatens the clerk at gunpoint to get a free sniper rifle. That's armed robbery for 15 years and assault with a deadly weapon for 10 years. He then uses that rifle to cover Ron in an attack on the Lost. He shoots and kills several bikers, let's say 4 of them. That's 4 more life sentences. When a helicopter arrives, he shoots the pilot, causing it to crash. That is murder, another life sentence, and also destruction of an aircraft, a federal offense that would carry a sentence of around 20 years. He then hijacks another plane, but not before running over and killing 2 bikers on the runway. That's vehicular homicide, which is basically involuntary manslaughter. So that's 8 years for each, a total of 16 years. He then takes off and flies dangerously, which is reckless endangerment of the skies, another 10 years. Finally, he and Ron drop contraband into boats, which is smuggling and trafficking. We'll add another 4 years for smuggling and 15 years for drug trafficking. His criminal ambition doesn't stop there. He tries to partner with the Los Santos triads led by Wei Cheng. During their meeting, the Aztecas attack his meth lab. He's forced to hide Tao Cheng and his translator in a freezer. That is kidnapping, a 7-year sentence, and false imprisonment, a 4-year sentence. He and Chef then defend the lab in a massive shootout, killing numerous Aztecas and Vagos members. If Ortega was spared before, Trevor kills him here. Let's tally this up as another 15 murders. That's 15 more life sentences. He later tracks down Tao and the interpreter at the Yellow Jack Inn and menaces them for information. That's criminal threats and intimidation for 3 years. He learns they are working with the O'Neill brothers and makes a threatening phone call to Elwood O'Neill. That counts as harassment and intimidation, tacking on another 3 years. Then he drives to the O'Neill ranch and launches a one-man war. He kills all the guards outside. Let's say that's 10 guys. 10 counts of homicide, 10 life sentences. He then finds their meth lab in the basement, pours gasoline everywhere, and burns the entire ranch to the ground. That is arson, a 10-year sentence plus a $25,000 fine. And also drug manufacturing since he's destroying a rival lab, which would probably be prosecuted as part of a larger criminal enterprise. But the arson charge is the big one here. This little business dispute has cost him 25 life sentences and 27 years. Wade finally finds a lead on Michael, a man named Michael DeSanta in Los Santos. When Wade tells him, Trevor assaults him by punching him off the porch. That's assault, another 6 months. He then punches him again, another 6 months. Before leaving for the city, he has one last piece of business with the Lost. He goes to their trailer park in Stab City, sneaks around and murders the remaining members. Let's say he kills another 10 bikers here, 10 more life sentences. He then plants sticky bombs and blows up the entire trailer park to Kingdom Come. This is a massive act of arson and destruction of property. Given the scale, it's domestic terrorism and would get him a life sentence on its own. He then drives to Los Santos and unlawfully moves into Floyd's apartment. That is trespassing and unlawful occupation, a 1-year sentence. He tracks down Michael and they have their tense reunion. They find out Tracy is auditioning for the show Fame or Shame, and they rush to the arena. After the show's host, Laszlo Jones, makes sleazy advances on Tracy, Trevor and Michael decide to teach him a lesson. Their car gets towed, so Trevor commits grand theft auto by hijacking a phantom truck. That's a 5-year sentence. They engage in reckless high-speed pursuit through the city, which is reckless driving, a 6-month sentence and a $2,500 fine. Once they corner Laszlo, Trevor humiliates him, forcing him to dance without his pants and threatening him. That is assault and intimidation, a 3-year sentence. And he doesn't return the truck, so the grand theft auto charge sticks. Later, Trevor forces Floyd to take him to his job at the port of Los Santos. This is coercion, a 5-year sentence. He, Floyd, and Wade use stolen uniforms, which is possession of stolen property. He then impersonates a dock worker to operate heavy machinery, which is fraud. He uses the equipment to take pictures of a restricted Merryweather ship, which is espionage. That's a federal crime that would carry a serious sentence. Let's say 20 years. He then uses a truck to commit criminal trespass by entering the secure Los Santos naval port. After stealing a shipping manifest, which is theft of government property, he abandons Floyd as Merryweather guards assault him. This is reckless endangerment, a 6-year sentence. Things get even more complicated when the FIB in the form of Steve Haynes gets involved. Haynes forces Michael N., by extension Trevor and Franklin, to do this dirty work. Their first job is extracting a prisoner, Ferdinand Kerimov, from the IAA headquarters. You might try to argue duress here, claiming Trevor was forced by a corrupt federal agent. But Trevor is a willing, even gleeful participant. He's not under immediate threat of death and had countless opportunities to refuse or report Haynes to other authorities. He did it because he enjoyed it, so the charges will stick. Trevor pilots a stolen helicopter, which is theft of an aircraft. Let's call that a 10-year sentence. He aids in breaking and entering into a federal building and assists in the kidnapping of a federal detainee, Ferdinand Kerimov. This is federal kidnapping, which carries a life sentence. During the escape, Franklin and Michael kill IAA agents, and Trevor pilots the getaway helicopter. This makes him an accessory to the murder of federal agents. Since he was a direct participant in the crime that led to their deaths, he'd be charged with the murders themselves. Let's say 5 agents were killed. That's 5 life sentences. Next, Trevor joins Franklin and Lamar on a drug deal on Grove Street that turns out to be a setup. He gets involved in a massive shootout with the Ballas. This involves armed assault and attempted murder. As the police arrive, he's also guilty of resisting arrest and assaulting law enforcement officers. We can add another count of resisting arrest for 2 years. And since he's shooting at them, assaulting an official, which is a 10-year sentence. The trio escapes by stealing jet skis, which is grand theft, and they flee from the police, which is another count of fleeing police for 1 year. Soon after, he gets his most infamous job from the FIB, torturing poor Ferdinand Kerimov for information. He engages in waterboarding, beatings, electrocution, and pulling teeth. These are all acts of torture. Torture is a crime against humanity and would guarantee a life sentence without parole. He also commits aggravated assault and battery with each act. Haynes orders him to execute Kerimov, but Trevor defies the order and helps him escape instead. While this is a moment of humanity, it's still a crime. He is aiding and abetting the escape of a federal detainee, which is a federal crime that would net him at least 10 years. Trevor finally gets to run his own heist on the Merryweather freighter. In the freighter approach, he's involved in conspiracy to commit robbery for 14 years, and after the ship is sunk, he pilots a submersible to steal a classified military device. This is theft of restricted military property. Given it's a superweapon, this is a massive charge. It's analogous to possessing a weapon of mass destruction, which carries a life sentence. He's also an accessory to the murder of the Merryweather guards on the ship. Let's say 20 of them died, 20 life sentences. In the offshore approach, he again steals the device, which is grand larceny of military-grade equipment, netting him another life sentence. He's also complicit in Franklin's armed resistance against Merryweather, making him an accessory to more attempted murders. Either way, he gets a life sentence for stealing the WMD, and he is on the hook for the murders. After the heist fails because Lester makes them give the weapon back, Elwood O'Neill calls and threatens Trevor. Trevor just shrugs it off. He continues doing jobs like robbing an armored car. He acts as a lookout, which makes him guilty of aiding and abetting an armed robbery. He then joins the firefight with an RPG, firing on police officers and destroying a police helicopter. This is multiple counts of attempted murder of law enforcement officers, each carrying a life sentence. Let's say he shoots at 20 cops, 20 life sentences. He's also using a prohibited weapon and committed destruction of public property. The helicopter destruction is a terroristic act, which would add another life sentence. For Devin Weston, he impersonates a police officer, a 4-year sentence. He participates in unlawful detainment and commits 2 counts of grand theft auto for stealing the luxury cars for 10 years total. He also engages in reckless driving and street racing, another 6 months. In another mission, he again impersonates an official to get into a police station, another 4 years. He then steals a police Maverick helicopter, another 10 years for aircraft theft. He uses the police surveillance equipment to violate privacy, which would be a cybercrime, for 10 years, and unlawful surveillance. He then aids Franklin in stealing Chad Mulligan's Z-Type, making him an accomplice to another grand theft auto. Things take a personal turn when he takes a job from Martin Madrazo. He chases down a plane and murders Madrazo's cousin, Javier. That's another life sentence. He then steals sensitive documents from the wreckage, which is theft. But he gets into an argument with Madrazo over payment and decides the most logical course of action is to kidnap his wife, Patricia. This is a clear-cut kidnapping, a 7-year sentence. While in hiding with Patricia, he plots another job, stealing weapons from a Merryweather cargo plane. He steals a Duster aircraft, another 10 years. He then crashes it into the cargo plane, which is destruction of property and attempted hijacking. Inside, he murders the Merryweather agents, let's say 5 of them, and then kills the pilots. That's 7 life sentences for the murders, plus air piracy for hijacking the plane, which is a federal crime that would carry its own life sentence. He then refuses orders from the U.S. Air Force and the plane is shot down. This is destruction of federal property and causing a major aviation disaster. He is a one-man terror cell. After the O'Neill brothers track him down, Trevor, Michael, and Franklin hunt them. Trevor provides aerial support in his helicopter while Michael and Franklin do the shooting. This makes him an accomplice to 3 murders, so there are 3 more life sentences. Next up is the Paleto Bay Heist. To prepare, he hijacks a military convoy, stealing government property. This involves armed assault and evasion of law enforcement. The theft of military hardware would carry a heavy sentence, at least 20 years. During the heist itself, he and the crew hold civilians hostage, which is another kidnapping charge for 7 years. They engage in a full-scale war with the police and later the military. Trevor wields a minigun, a prohibited weapon. He mows down dozens of police officers and soldiers. Let's say he's directly responsible for the deaths of 30 police officers and 10 soldiers. That's 40 counts of murder of law enforcement and military personnel. 40 life sentences. He causes a helicopter to crash into a building, which is manslaughter and destruction of property. He fights soldiers and damages tanks, which is assault on military personnel, and destruction of government property. The entire heist is an act of domestic terrorism, which would add another life sentence on top of everything else. The Paleto job funds another FIB mission, stealing a chemical weapon from Humane Labs. Trevor pilots the escape helicopter. He is aiding and abetting the theft of a weapon of mass destruction. This is a massive federal crime, aiding in terrorism. It carries a life sentence. After this, he finally returns Patricia to Madrazo, but not before threatening him again, which is another count of criminal threats for 3 years. He returns to Floyd's apartment, gets into a confrontation with Floyd and his girlfriend Deborah, and it's heavily implied he murders both of them. That's a double homicide. 2 more life sentences. He then conceals the crime from Wade. Afterwards, he goes to the Vanilla Unicorn strip club, kills the manager, Leon, off-screen, and takes over the business. That's another murder, another life sentence, and a criminal takeover of a business through violence. The feud with Michael boils over. After an argument, he threatens to kill Michael, a criminal threat, for 3 years. He commits grand theft auto by stealing Michael's car, 5 years. He then steals a plane to fly to North Yankton, another 10 years for aircraft theft. In Ludenorf, he commits grave desecration by digging up Michael's fake grave. This crime would probably net him a year or 2. He then assaults Michael with a deadly weapon by aiming his pistol at him for 10 years. He flees the scene as Wei Cheng's men arrive, ignoring their call that they've kidnapped Michael, which could be seen as reckless endangerment. Later, back in Los Santos, he punches a random pedestrian in a fit of rage, which is assault for 6 months. He wakes up on an island surrounded by the bodies of lost MC members he presumably killed in a drunken blackout. Let's say he killed 5 more. That's 5 more life sentences. Finally, we reach the endgame, the big score, the Union Depository heist. In the subtle approach, he's involved in grand theft auto, armed robbery, kidnapping, grand larceny, and a massive shootout with Merryweather. In the obvious approach, it's grand theft, air piracy, destruction of property, grand larceny, and aerial combat with Merryweather. Both scenarios involve dozens of felonies. The grand larceny of that much gold is a massive charge. The murders of the Merryweather contractors during the escape would add, let's say, another 20 life sentences. After the heist, he helps rescue Lamar from the Ballas, which involves storming a sawmill and murdering dozens of gang members. This is another mass murder event. Let's add another 20 life sentences for his final shootout. So, the final sentence for Trevor Philips would be 226 consecutive life sentences, plus 642 years in prison without the possibility of parole, ever. It is without a doubt the most insane criminal record for any protagonist in gaming history, and honestly, knowing Trevor, he'd probably be proud of it.